like how we're like slowly, it's becoming like a two-way response. Yeah, so this is no longer our first years. We have opened it up to the, well, there's one first year, but she's a special case. We have opened it up to the plethora of talent amongst all the years, so that's exciting.
And we had many all the genres today. So
also exciting.
Yeah.
And that's really all the announcements. We'll pass around the little sign-up sheet that we keep passing around. There's beer and snacks and cookies from the lovely Nina Sabak. So feel free to go pop out and grab more of those as we go.
I think Nina got a louder cheer than Speakeasy did, which is completely okay.
I bow before food.
Yes.
Just cheer like that when I read, please.
Yes.
We'll just like slip that over your like reminder. Nina baked you cookies. Yeah, but otherwise I think we're gonna get started.
All right, I get to introduce our second reader of the night, Mr. Cameron Barnett. Cameron is a third-year poet at Pitt, and despite... Hold on, I just need to listen to this actually. Okay. Alright, Cameron is a third-year poet at Pitt, and despite all the wonderful training he is receiving here at Word School, he is woefully inept at crafting witty introductions. So, in lieu of that, let's play two truths and a lie about him. 1. In 3rd grade, Cameron learned how to juggle. 2. In 3rd grade, Cameron learned how to do a backflip. 3. In 3rd grade, Cameron learned how to moonwalk. Honestly, I don't think he can do any of those. He's gonna have to prove me wrong up here. So let's get some. Which is a lie? Is it the juggling? Is it the backflip? Is it the moonwalk? Can I get some noise for juggling? Only one person thinks that he can juggle. Can I get some noise for a backflip? Okay. And can I get some noise for moonwalking? Really? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Cameron Barnett, you better tell us which one is the lie.
You can be my mama and I'll be your boy.
I'll tell you after. Yeah. Also, I regret to inform you that me and Malcolm's mixtape is going to be postponed indefinitely. We'll get back to it. Bring her bad news. Alright, so I'm only reading 3 poems. The second one's pretty long, but the first one, just to kind of contextualize it, is like weird. Over the summer, I like got into like writing poems like addressed to myself or like notes to myself in some way. So this one is called On Meeting Cameron Barnett as an Old Man in the Future. I had heard he was more despised than a $5 bill in the South, that his shoulders hung like the silt of 1,000,000 years brushed off dinosaur bones. I had heard he called toilet paper ass napkins. The first time I saw him, I was as calm as chimes in a hurricane. He was a tired warship, listing over a balcony with black hands latched around the railing, nails mauling paint chips to an early grave. The expression on his face, like a preface to a story I'd rather have as an audiobook. At our greeting, he took me in with the tenderest hands, the instinctive move to hug a surprise to us both. I learned that he was a widower, and that no one could recall his wife's face, but that sometimes he was seen walking the yard, traipsing through high grass, ankles brushing the hips of wild roses, moving toward a small stone wall, where he'd press his fingers and whistle to himself. This was his everyday, a 6 o'clock appointment with everything he had lost. I watched as other nurses would whisper in small groups, while in the hallway he took asylum from the winces and lurchings of other patients. Cameron only ate jelly sandwiches, sneezed like thunder, hummed the score to the Music Man every day, and moved in slew-footed slow circles. Some said he was a ball player, or a runner, or any other thing that could destroy one's knees. I thought he might have been a dancer, pacing in the grass, fingers on rock, It looked like he was repainting the Mona Lisa, or the Last Supper, or Guernica, the same pattern each time, until his legs became petrified, monolithic, the internal chemistry beginning to fail him. Then a bedridden body with a soul inside still smoldering. That was 3 years ago. When I left, the wall where he made his office had begun to sprout weeds in the mortar, and I was surprised that I grew to be homesick for his resting grimace, his crass language, his lingering old man hugs. Our last week together, I wheeled him to the wall, and he held my hands and whistled to me, the same song I'd heard him make from afar, did it 6 times until I joined in with him. The final time through, he said, "The last note of a song is like going home. You have to hold it. This one, I want it to be yours." Sometimes I still whistle his tune. If you stand near a wall, this is how it sounds. Okay. So for all you first years who don't know me and my readings, I always start off with like lighter things and then immediately veer into like really heavy like racial issues. So this is that part of the program. Post-racial America, a pop quiz. Problem 1. A black boy is killed at 10:27 a.m. News cameras arrive on the scene at twice the time as police back up, which is 1/4 the time it takes to tape off a perimeter. At 11 a.m., the first cameras show pictures of a black body face down in the street. At 11:08 a.m., a black man approaches the body and is backed away by an officer to the yellow tape, where the rest of the community watches in horror. If the speed of a TV satellite signal is distance over the speed of light, how long will it be before white America begins to feel threatened? Problem 2. Ferguson, Missouri is on fire. The black community is livid. Looters are looting. Arsonists are burning. Police are in riot gear, citizens in street clothes. In the air, tear gas, rocks, glass bottles, and smoke. There are church leaders and police chiefs, teachers, and store owners. At 9:54 p.m., a confrontation begins. Calculate the sum potential of ethical decision-making in this moment. Compare your results with the class. Problem 3. Deceased. Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, Renisha McBride, Walter Scott, Sandra Bland, Emmett Till, Trayvon Martin. Solve for N, where N is the sum of other names you don't know. Problem 4. True or false? Hands up, don't shoot is a prime number. Problem 5. Jane is white and abhors police brutality, but she thinks the slogan Black Lives Matter is too polarizing, even racist. So she writes a post about All Lives Matter, which gets 279 Facebook likes. Twice the number of her white friends liked her post as her non-white friends, once the category of her non-white friends is subdivided to exclude Asian Americans, Native Americans, Indians, Hispanics, Pacific Islanders, and Middle Easterners, leaving only Jane's African American friends. Question. What is the absolute value of Y, where Y is All Lives Matter? Problem 6. Which weighs more? A pound of Black Lives Matter profile pictures or a pound of solidarity? Problem 7. Ohio State's football team wins a national championship. 82% of the student body is white. 91% of the student body celebrates by marching, lighting fires, breaking into the home stadium, and vandalizing. Determine what percentage of the student body consists of revelers and what percentage consists of thugs. Check your math against the results of problem 2. Problem 8. There are C cops in America, which is 4 times less than there are unarmed black men. Assuming B represents the total number of bullets in the country, how much of B will it take before C no longer has a job to do? Problem 9. A middle school girls basketball team wears I Can't Breathe t-shirts during warm-ups. A picture is posted on Facebook. Group A likes the t-shirts, Group B thinks they're racist. Assume racism is a quantity. 2/3 of comments blame black deaths on lack of accountability and personal responsibility. 5/8 bring up white people murdered by black youths as a counter. 3/5 blame Obama, and 3/10 call it fad activism. If T equals the total number of commenters, use the following equation: R equals Z squared times T. Set Z as a function of rightness, then solve for R, where R is the first group past the pole and thus the most oppressed group. Double check your work. Problem 10. If the price of free speech is M and people's opinions are T, write an equation in which black M might finally be equal to white T. Bonus question. Solve for X, where X is the root of the problem. This last one is called Theater of America, which I think was picked up by BE Quarterly. Shout out to BE Quarterly. Where's Kelly? Kelly's not here. See you, Kelly. Just throw shade at her. It's going to be on the All right. Theater of America, for Michael Brown. I want to give you the silence of snow and let it melt into you. I want to take your name and skywrite it in permanent marker, then let the rain tattoo you everywhere. This is what to do with black bodies. In the Theater of America, fire sprinklers are covering everything in shallow pools. I want to give you a monsoon instead. It's the safest waters where most drown. In the Theater of America, there are none so blind as those who will not see color. They fill the aisles, tongues wrapped in Gadsden flags. This is what they do with black bodies. Fill them with lead. Let them fall, let them sink, or let them float in thin puddles. Even if I could crush this theater inside my fist, I would feel the small hammering of people rebuilding already. And what is left of you? What about black bodies? Your home is the rock of Sisyphus. Your story is a book the blind are placing on a shelf in a library they have never been to. Yours is the prodigal play in which black sons do not return home. Your body rests on the apron of the stage, and somewhere in the mezzanine I hear a whisper, sailing like fishing line over still water. Blackness is always knowing where you are, but never knowing where you're from. And from the rafters, an echo. Blackness is always knowing, never knowing. Thanks.
Our third reader is Nina Sabak.
Oh, bad.
No, it's not correct. Never mind. Have some cookies.
And that's
Now, our third reader is Nina Sabak. So, in lieu of a summary of her life and accomplishments, here are some short stories about her provided by various friends and exes. Poet, West Virginian, owner of at least 2 curse swords. Don't mess with her. Good roommate, better friend, even better big spoon. Nina's stress cooking and cleaning has saved me from contributing to our household too many times to count. This was not Cameron. The human version of a Trader Joe's food blurb. Like a box full of kittens wearing glasses. Excellent amateur carpenter. A pride parade float in the shape of a unicorn made entirely of chapbooks. A mug of sparkletini on a Friday night. She enters the dangerous territory of word choice and clever Facebook statuses, so you don't have to. Nina Sabak is the unnamed, omniscient narrator character in every third-person young adult fantasy ever written. She'd get along swimmingly with my grandparents. Nina Sabak and her cookies.
So, 2 years ago, I read immediately before Cameron Barnett in our first years. And I'm going to paraphrase what he said at the time, which is that I hate to follow Cameron, all I do is win Barnett. So I'm going to read for my thesis tonight because I like to live dangerously, and there are a couple things you should know. This is set in 2003 in West Virginia, and the main character is an adolescent Russian girl, so I'm really stretching myself here. But I do want you to know that I do not endorse her views of popular tourist destinations in West Virginia that will become relevant in a second. Her best friend has just moved to Indiana, and the beginning is a series of emails they're exchanging. So Sophia is the main character, and Jenna is her friend. So, remember the last time your parents took us to Pittsburgh? It was your birthday, right? I went again before we moved, but I don't think you were there. Okay, so you remember we let you pick the restaurant and you wanted the museum cafe because you're a nerd, and then your parents bought us all tickets to see the dinosaurs? But the dinosaur part is connected to the art part, so we wandered around until we found these paintings that were just different colors, like no people or anything. Do you remember who painted those? Because Josh invited me to the art museum and I don't know anything about art, so it would be good to have something to say. Have you been there this summer? If you go, tell the T-Rexes I say hi. What are you up to? Hi, Jenna. You know that describes like half the stuff we saw, right? Haven't been to Pittsburgh yet, but my aunt and uncle went up for a concert a couple weeks ago and will not stop telling us that the symphony is only okay this year, especially when my mom says she would like to hear it. Not up to much. My dad and I went to the fort yesterday to see if they had any good demonstrations. Turns out no, but we stayed for an hour anyway, and he told me for the millionth time about how much the woods around Pickett's Fort remind him of being a kid in the countryside. I think he only came to America because he found a part that looks like Russia. Also, does this mean Josh asked you on a date? A real date? Dear Soph, the blue painting, the really big one you liked so much. It was a guy who painted it, I think, but that's all I remember. And, well, he asked me to go to the museum and said he'd buy my tickets, so I'm pretty sure that it's a real date. Don't tell my mom, though, because I said I was going with Alyssa. You know how my parents are. They gave me the talk twice, and I don't want to make it 3. Jenna, I'm going to call your mom right now and tell on you. Mostly because I want to see if she'll give you more information the 3rd time. Remember how we had to look up uterus because she got mad and said she wasn't going to feed our imaginations? Anyway, I think I know who you mean. The big painting that was just different kinds of blue and yellow, that was Mark Rothko. I googled him just now to be sure, and that's like all he did. Big paintings of colors. They're pretty. Hey, Soph. Yeah, that's him. Okay, thanks. And of course you like him, weirdo. I've been telling everyone here that my best friend likes art that doesn't even have anything in it. And don't you dare. She would kill me, and then I would come back from the dead and kill you too. The most fun thing you can do in Fairmont is go someplace else. The state capitol is 3 hours south, but I've only been there a few times because the Gerstlers don't like it. People here think we're strange, but at least they've probably been out of the state, and Charleston is so deep in coal country that there's nothing else around. Pittsburgh is under 2 hours north, though, and there are actually other Russians, so pretty much everything we do that's worthwhile happens there. Like my birthday last May. For some reason, I really liked the idea of turning 13 in a different state, and it wasn't hard to persuade my parents. They had just finished teaching their school year and had that get me out of Fairmont look in their eyes. Jenna came because obviously she was going to come, and she gave me a present in the car on the way back, a fancy journal from a boutique in Morgantown. I have a ton of journals because that's all anyone ever gives you once they know you like to write, but hers was better than my other ones. It had an S at the bottom of each page, and it had a ribbon sewn into the spine so you can mark your place. That was my favorite birthday, I think. Turning 14 was pretty good, but it was during the time Jenna wasn't telling me about Indiana, so that sort of ruins it in retrospect. But 14 isn't as exciting as 13. When you turn 13, you're finally a teenager. And when you turn 14, you're just 13 plus 1, and you still have to eat in a cafeteria. I need to say something and I don't know how. I need to say that I was jealous of Jenna and Josh. I need to say that I hated him for taking this one memory she and I had and making it different, for turning my blue painting into something she'd want to impress him with. When we found my painting, we were lost. I'd been to the Carnegie many times, but always with my parents guiding, and on this day they'd split off and gone to the Egyptian gallery, as though they understood how important it was to be 13 with just one other person. I loved them for this, and didn't even know until later. I was the one who saw it. Jenna had been cracking me up all through the modern art wing, and the museum guards shushed us in the Impressionist room. But all of a sudden, it was just me and this dumb, wonderful painting on the wall. All kinds of colors. Yellows and oranges and blues I didn't know the name for. Blues that swirled and billowed and made me sad and warm all at once. Look at that, I said. Cool, Jenna said. No, I said, look at it. For real. There was sky blue and sea blue and foggy day blue and incense in the morning blue. There was yellow like the buttercups we used to hold under each other's chins to tell our fortunes, and yellow like a blanket I had had once when I was very small. And all around it orange, just orange, familiar as a carrot. We stood there. Jenna didn't say anything. After a while, she reached over and took my hand in hers and squeezed it, and I squeezed back. "I still don't get it," she said, "but it's pretty." Her skin was soft and dry, and I ran my thumb over the back of her palm. I wanted so badly for her to see this one thing. It seemed obscene that after all this time I couldn't just show her, couldn't explain how perfect this one painting in a whole museum of paintings was. She dropped my hand and my heart panged, but she was only putting her arm around my shoulder. She hugged me to her side, and I smelled her Jenna scent, vanilla and peaches and skin. "Happy birthday," she said. "I got you colors." "I love them," I said, and meant I love you. If I could have stayed there forever, if I could have walked into the painting with her, if I could have put my nose to her hair and breathed in deep, 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 until my lungs were full to bursting, until my heart was a wild fist in my chest, until I understood that at some recent point I had stopped being a child but hadn't yet started being anything else, until I understood any of it. She said, "Come on, I want to see art that looks like something." But neither of us moved. I was sweating hard under my new Sunday blouse. My arms were hanging at my sides, and I thought about putting one around her waist, but then I would just sweat harder and she would be able to tell. One of the museum guards came around the corner then, and Jenna let go of me. The guard was a woman who looked about our mother's age, and I might have liked her under different circumstances. She smiled at us and said, "Can I help you ladies with anything?" Jenna was already halfway across the room and heading for Andy Warhol. "No," I said. My parents always told me to be polite, but if the guard hadn't come in then, maybe I could have stayed there with Jenna a little longer. I wanted to know how long she would have kept her arm around me, and now I would never know, because she didn't touch me again that day. Not in the museum, and not in the car, and not when we dropped her off at her own house that night after stopping for dinner in a highway-side Wendy's. Not like that, anyway. Not like that again. I hated Josh because he was a lifeguard, and he was cute, and he was going to see beautiful things with my best friend. And if he put his arm around her, I knew she wouldn't move away. Thank you.
So, I don't know if you guys know this, but Malcolm and Courtney and I are also MFA students. So that means we also get to read sometimes for Speakeasy. And today, I'm going to introduce Malcolm, who's going to be the first of our, triumvirate?
We're a crew.
First of our crew.
Speakeasy Squad.
Speakeasy Squad, there we go, first of the Speakeasy Squad. To sort of share with you that we can do more than just stand up here and try and pretend that we're funny. So, Malcolm Friend is a poet and a Canto Mundo fellow originally from the Rainier Beach. In case it isn't clear to you yet, he really, really likes to eat. Rather than provide a bio, he has provided a few of his favorite foods. Here we go. Mofongo, mac and cheese, rice and beans, tostones, chuleta frita, chuleta guisado, pollo guisado, cornbread, fried chicken, mashed potatoes, bistec encebollado, bacalaíto, fried catfish, grits, maduro, plátanos calados, dirty rice, sweet potato pie, and mofongo. Yes, you realize he said mofongo twice. It wasn't an accident. Speaking of food, Malcolm's crowning achievement was being told he made a hot dog poetic and workshop. I just resurrected a lot of my high school Spanish, so I hope I did okay. Malcolm Friend.
sorry, you guys. Alright, so I'm going to try to talk as little as possible. But I always start out anytime I'm reading by reading someone else's poem. So Nate Marshall, a friend of mine from college, recently had his first book published, Wild 100. You should all buy it because it's amazing. And I'll read a poem from there. Alzheimer's. I've seen the gunman kill and go free to kill again. Carl Sandburg, Chicago. My nephew doesn't know his address. My granddad can't remember his childhood address. I find it in a scrapbook, a Western Union message to his mom from his Navy days. 4328 South Greenwood, the Black Belt. Trayvon's killer walked free tonight. I went to the old address and cried in my car. This is where I came from. I drive away and remember Keller Gifted School. I head south on I-94 and then west toward the school. It sits in the Mount Greenwood neighborhood. Mount Greenwood was white and scary. In 4th grade, the neighborhood kids would piss on our playground, break windows, scrawl nigger on the walls outside. The neighborhood parents knew. The neighborhood parents were busy burning the newly black-owned house down the block. This is where I came from. White folk violence isn't hypothetical to me. It's not historical or systemic. It's elementary school, like Pokemon or sleepovers. My granddad can't remember where he grew up. I can. My nephew doesn't know his address yet. He'll remember it soon. All right. Let's get this open. Alright, so I'm going to read 3 of my own poems. They're all music-based, which means at some point there will be singing over here, which is always an adventure because I know I can't sing. So I hope that you all bear with me through this. And the first one is actually inspired by my walk-up song. Reggaeton as sensible form of Puerto Rican therapy, or a close listening of Don Omar's Atabajo. Uno, hacia abajo soy yo. Tonight, give me a dark room and some loud tunes banging over neon lights. Suelta, that's right, bump that shit. That's my jam tonight. Just keep the hits coming. That's how I get down. With every demented note, another drop of sweat from this anguished body. Do. Yo solo quiero ver tu booty por la disco morenando. Another drop of sweat clings to her anguished body. Tight dress pressed against me. My fix, this dimbo ground into the dance floor. Backs bent on beat. We break ourselves to forget how broken we really are. Always seeking remedy laced over a repetitive beat. Our repetitive beating, this pegao, cuidado puñeta, this guaya, these bodies, this breaking, this beat. 3. Por eso anda revuelta. This space be our right. All over the dance floor, our revolution. Let's degrade. Devalue ourselves, sweat a little more, sully these bodies until we are true sucios, dirty as the music we dance to. 4. Pa bailar encendida. Let's rock until our bodies burn. Or let's dance perreo until we grind ourselves into dust, or fuck wax. Fuck being one more burning effigy, one more candle effaced with Jesus, Mary, some other patron saint lit in prayer, or maybe this time, instead of ascending into heaven, What little is left of us can find the beat of a snare drum, a pounding dembo that never rests. All right. Next two poems are going to be about my grandfathers on each side of the family. Because Mom doesn't sing every song by the Temptations. I've never met my mom's father, but I spoke to him once over the phone. It was Thanksgiving, freshman year of college, the first of two I spent with Mom's family in Chicago. It was strange, talking to this man I never met but knew too well. When he asked my name, I felt the tug on Mom's hair when he grabbed her once, felt her neck snapping back, felt her glare snapping back at him when she cut her hair short the next day. When he called Mom Rion, the childhood name all her family uses, I could feel the November chill coiling around Mom like a snake after her father locked the rest of the family out the night before Thanksgiving. Spat the venom that finally broke the blood of his marriage, finally guaranteed Mom would never let him near her blood. Mom yelled at Uncle Derek for even letting him talk to me. Said he had no business bringing her kids around that man, and I thought about all the times Mom had played the Temptations for us growing up. How she bobbed her head to my girl, glided her neck with just my imagination, but mostly sat silent through Papa Was a Rolling Stone. How I never needed her to sing this song, her voice mixing with Dennis Edwards' spit. Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. I could hear her digging all of that venom out of her blood, out of our blood. I just wrote that this afternoon, by the way. I fulfilled my promise to read a new poem. All right, my last poem. Ode to Bob Marley, ending in inheritance, after Hanif Willis Abdul Keep. Because that summer I finally learned what it was to carry music in my DNA. To have it sing in a way that makes your blood dance through your veins to the point it's fire. I never listened to Bob Marley much. Bob Marley is Jamaica, and to me, Jamaica was always the fire in my father's blood. The juvie sentence he got for breaking the bones of the boy who exposed his father's affair, or the morning after my father lunged at him for disrespecting my grandmother, how my grandfather said my father could never live with him, laughed, "You know, you'd probably kill me one day." It's 2011, and Bob Marley's I Shot the Sheriff blast from some hot dog vendor's boombox in Soto, and with every note, I could see Kingston and London and New York dancing through fire. And as he hands me a hot dog, my father says the chorus to this famous song almost rang, "Me shot the sheriff, but me didn't shoot no deputy." Until someone told Bob to straighten that crooked tongue of his, not understanding the irony of telling someone to sing a protest song in a tyrant's tongue. The same irony as my father carrying the name of a father who left New York for Miami and never came back. Dying in the same city as Marley. But Bob, that day, I learned not to blame you. I learned what it's like to have fire dancing in your veins until you have to spit it out in song. And when I took that hot dog from my father, I knew he was saying, "Son, don't forget the other island that birthed you." I knew he was trying to give me an inheritance that would never burn. Thank you.
coming.
My voice is a little hoarse right now.
That one more time. There's more here and more cookies, so go eat and drink them.
And let's thank Nina again for making cookies for us.
And one more round of applause for all of our readers today. Oh, and we'll be back in 2 weeks for Speakeasy, which we will do with Chatham.
Yes.
Chatham! So, also, Fiona Harvey, our very own, will be reading. And Chatham, someone faculty member from Chatham, who I don't think we know yet.
Yeah, we don't know that.
Will also be reading. So there'll be a party, there'll be Halloween decorations.
And